So with the presence of Russian flags there, people really were calling into question whether this is another geopolitical move. Mr. Bash is back with us. Please continue your thoughts.
Okay, so as I was saying, that it's not something that we can just take for granted and say that maybe it's just out of mischief or some people ignorantly did that. I think maybe the actual bearers of the flags were not actually, they were ignorantly waving it because some people gave them money and they just carry it when they without knowing the implication. But I
Possible.
think the security, yes, the security agency should go deeper. And don't forget, we cannot look at that in isolation because concomitantly, as they were talking about carrying the Russian flag, they were also saying that they wanted a military regime, that the military should come and take over. So when you look at what has happened in those other countries, Burkina Faso, Mali, and so on that you have mentioned, you can see that most of these things were also preceded by a military takeover and then the alliance and gravitation towards the Russian this thing. So it's a serious thing, and I know the government and the security agencies will look critically at that. As for those
Polish citizens. Network have playing some havoc there. So our thoughts, what he was saying, of course, was that when we shouldn't also divorce the presence of people who were calling for a change of government through unconstitutional means. Quite a number of prominent Nigerians have come out to distance themselves, absolutely condemning those calls for military coup, including even the former military ruler of Nigeria, former head of state Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida, and one-time president, head of state Abacha henchman, calling for us to demonstrate submission of the military to civil rule. Mr. Bash is back. Please continue your thoughts.
So for me, I think whoever was in charge of that exchange program, and you have people as your guests, and in such a volatile situation, you allow them to go out and say they are taking photographs to the extent that they become so visible. Even if they were on exchange program, I think it was reckless of whoever was in charge or whoever was coordinating that exchange program to have allowed those students, if they are actually students, to have gone to the extent of exposing themselves to that type of situation, coming out and claiming they are taking photographs. But I think, honestly, that issue will be there for the government and the security agencies to unravel, and we watch closely how the whole thing will play out.
Okay, quickly, let's move to the Senate now. President Olusegun Obasanjo over the weekend coming out to deliver what some would call very hard knocks on this present administration, and particularly the Senate and the House of Assembly, saying that with regards to their salaries, they have been arbitrarily fixing their salaries. The Senate leadership have come out strongly distancing themselves from what former President Olusegun Obasanjo said, saying that that may have been true in his era, but this particular National Assembly is so different from his. But as these calls, looking at the Senate and the House of Representatives and their performance with regards to their oversight functions have come to the fore, again, let's take a look at, with regards to the oil sector. We've seen so many probes. At some point, we have about 500 or 600 plus probes since 1999, with only 3 that have reached its finality. Report in June came out with that conclusion. And here again, there's another one, NLG, $4-point-something billion probe. Recently, we're looking at a $1-point-something billion Port Harcourt refinery. And this is what we want to delve with the remaining of our time. Bash, let's start with what the Senate's response to what Chief Olusegun Obasanjo said over the weekend with regards to the cost of governance and the fixing of salaries of our lawmakers. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, thank you. I think what ex-President Obasanjo said can
Uh, Network not being very kind with us here.
some time now, and in particular, based on the overall
We'll try and sort that out, and we will come back with Mr. Bash, trying to put his thoughts across there, just to slight technical challenges. But again, over the past many years since the advent of this era of democracy, since return from military rule in 1999, a report came a couple of months ago that over 600 probes have been initiated by the National Assembly, with only 3 of them seeing finality. You can name it. 12 years ago, we had the similar protest, again occasioned by hardship and the removal or attempted removal of subsidy, which partially succeeded. Surprisingly, even when the partial removal of subsidy was initiated, it ended up, the subsidy regime ended up ballooning well beyond when we used to have substantive subsidies. We never could explain that. And the Senate went on a probe mission, but we at Farouk, I think, we don't seem to have any finality on that. You can name anything. Is it the issue of ghost workers? Is it the issue? All kinds of probes have been initiated. And we've seen a situation where those things just make headlines, and that's the end to it. I think it's an abysmal record. And I wonder what this particular probe, with regards to the Port Harcourt refinery that has seen well over $1 billion sunk into it, and yet we've not seen any drop of petrol from it in how many years? Keep changing deadlines. Mr. Bash, welcome back. Hello, can you hear me?
I hear you. Let me just quickly make my own, give my own perspective on this thing. To the best of my knowledge, General Obasanjo, as a former president, is somebody who doesn't like leaving the stage. He wants to be deified, which already I think he has achieved. He's one of the luckiest persons on earth that I've seen that God created. He's had the opportunity of leading a country as big as Nigeria with its vast resources. And he's had the opportunity of committing a lot of atrocities and getting away with them. And with that, he can always continue.
Would you explain what you're alluding to?
Let me go. We will finish with him and then go to the National Assembly. Because part of what he said when those people visited him is that the National Assembly and the polity in general, if people had followed the foundation his own administration laid down, that we would not have been where we are today. And I think with due respect to him, the so-called foundation he laid is what people are following, and it's also what has put us where we are today, especially in the National Assembly. Don't forget, and nothing came out of it. That's a fact. It's incontrovertible that a lot of money, our money went into that and nothing came out of it. What General Obasanjo did in Odi.
But raising, if you can hear me, raising Odi, he wasn't the one in charge. Yeah. That was, some would say that was Victor Malu, who was Chief of Army Staff at the time.
And new journey into democratic dispensation in 1999, and he came on board. It made it very easy for him to ride on the goodwill that we were enjoying then to do some of it. in the National Assembly, the corruption we are talking about today, to a large extent, General Obasanjo introduced it now. I met somebody who was in the National Assembly then that the day they brought Ghana Must Go containing 50 million naira to the third-term agenda of General Obasanjo, that he was so afraid that this is so much money, a member of the House of Reps, that he was so afraid that he didn't even know what to do. He was afraid that if he take the money home that evening, his own driver could come and attack him. He lied to the driver he was traveling to Lagos. They went to the airport together. I'm going to. And after that person left, the man now went ahead to pick his car, drive to Sheraton to lodge, and then took the money to the bank the following day. So General Obasanjo introduced corruption on a large scale to the National Assembly. It's part of the foundation he laid there that has put us where we are today, no matter the way he's putting it and sending it across to people. A lot of recklessness that characterized. We remember as he was president now, we are going to have an election, and he said that election was going to be a do or die affair. And coming with from somebody like him, you can understand the trajectory subsequently after that.
However, fair point so far. However, what about the substance of his criticism? Do they have any merit whatsoever?
Now, yes, the substance is there, but let him come with this holier than thou attitude that he's the only wise man in Nigeria. He knows it all and is unchallengeable. He says these things and people latch onto it and they start glorifying him. It's not as honestly good as he wants people to believe he is. There are so many other things that I can mention. Yesterday on Twitter, somebody was saying his farm in Ota, which is set up. Most of the tractors there were tractors meant for Operation Feed the Nation in 1978, which he moved there for his personal use. But let's leave that. Let's now come to the problem he created for us in the National Assembly in terms of their oversight function. Let me tell you realistically, the truth of the matter is that our National Assembly, with due respect to them, many of them, if not all of them, have turned themselves to domestic terrorists in the way they carry out.
That's a huge one.
Yes, it's heavy. Yes, that I'm telling you. Go and ask the head of agencies, directors, DGs, even ministers, people in the ministries and all that. They will tell you the so-called oversight function is nothing but harassment of people holding these positions. They say we are here, the committee is here, and oversight function want to visit you. If you don't prepare Ghana Must Go, it's been there over the years. So these ones can say they've not been doing it, but I will take that with some reservations. But go and check. People who have held those positions, if they want to be honest, they will tell you. It's the National Assembly that knows the money that's going to a particular ministry or agency, and they will also go there and tell the person in charge that this is the contractor that you are going to give this. These are the things they are using. And for those who fail to also dance to their tune, those are the ones that, oh, we must probe, this person must go, this person must be. And when they make all that noise, and people who are close to that person say, look, you can't challenge these people, they are so mighty and powerful. All you need to do is to also pander to what they want, and you do it. That is why some of those probes have not seen the light of day. That is the reality. I will give you a typical example. When Colin Ali, under the Buhari administration, was the head of customs, there was a time they made this pronouncement that, look, all these goods and commodities we have seized, vehicles we have taken, that instead of keeping them here, look, let the owners of vehicles pay the fine for importing them without paying the custom duties, dispose of these things, instead of allowing them to be here and they will decay and waste away. The rice you collected from the border, send them to the IDPs and so on. What happened? The Committee on Customs then just woke up one morning like that. They went to his office, and then when they got there, and our brother, Dino Melai, was in that committee. You can go and check. The man was one of the few persons who was able to call their bluff. They got to his office that day thinking that they were harassing the way they've been harassing others. And the main mission why they went there was to say, look, traditionally, when custom will be disposing of those things, so the presidency, 100 cars, the vice president's office will get 50 cars. They will share this thing, head of committees. Even all this issue of buying jobs today that we are contending with started with the National Assembly. It wasn't like that before. In the past in Nigeria, if you graduate, you are looking for job. Yes, there is what we call LL in those days, long leg, knowing people that, and some of these people can only facilitate your being shortlisted for interview. If you do not pass, they say, well, I've tried my hardest. But what do we have today? I can tell you for about 15 years now, there is hardly anybody in Nigeria who got appointment in the federal agency that did not pay to get those positions. It's all over the place. The one the Fire Service wants to do now, since last year they've been talking about it, is in the open space now, 1.5 million naira if you want to join fire service.
Okay.
It's like that. So the National Assembly, their so-called oversight function is nothing but harassment of people to make people to carry money and go and give to them. And look at the structure of the National Assembly, and there is one playing out right now in our presence to our faces. Even the positions they hold, they are principal officers in the National Assembly. If you get to know how much some of them expended to hold those positions, you'll be shocked that even among themselves, they collected money gratification for people to become principal officers of the National Assembly. And it's a way of rewarding those who are loyal. If you are not loyal, even those head of committees, if you are a good person and you know your way around, you go to the very good, rich committees where you will make money. If not, nobody takes you there. Undume recently, Senator, wait, just let me finish.
Okay.
Senator Undume recently, because of his criticism, his outburst against the president and his party, was removed as the chief whip. And what did they do? It's like a punishment. They took him to go and head the Committee on Tourism. He knew what he was getting in being the chief whip. And what happened at the end of the day? They've been able to beat him to lie. He has gone to apologize. And now, as at this morning, I got to know that they are thinking of returning him back. As
you just raised Senator Ndume. Just quickly, I just remember the infamous off your mic situation when the now Senate President was a minister of Niger Delta and was being quizzed by the House of the National Assembly over the NDDC. And then this current issue of Representative Ugochinyere and with regards to probing NDDC with Abba Kyari and all of these things that have been playing out, what you've really been talking about. But looking at Ndume, is it a situation, because he goes out and he comes back, he's suspended, they bring him back. Is it that he has something on them that makes him ever relevant? We have barely a minute to wrap up that point, and then we take a pause.
Sorry, because of the network, I didn't really get it.
I was wondering, a quick one. We have about 1 minute. So I wanted you to address something. Ndume keeps being suspended and being brought back. He's suspended again. He's very fearless. Is it that he has something that makes him very important? You know, he has something on everybody, and then they can't put him out. What's playing out? 1 minute.
They put him out recently. He had to come openly and apologize.
Was that really apology?
You didn't notice?
That wasn't really apology for what I watched. That seemed as if he was saying the right thing, and everybody just said whatever they were supposed to say, and then they said it was a big family issue, kumbaya, and everything continues.
You and I were not there with them, but he must have spoken to people. He was punished for what he did, and now he has become repentant, and they are thinking of giving him back his position. He knows what he's losing if he's not going to be there. As just an ordinary member. If you are not well connected, you end up with committees like human rights, those places where there is no money. But if you are very well connected, Niger Delta Committee, the Appropriation Committee, and all those committees are very juicy that nobody will not be given. You must be highly connected and go. Thank you.
Okay, that's that's a very funny one. We've been speaking with Bash. Bash joined us from Abuja, and he's been dealing talking about the state, the response of the federal government with regards to the end-bad governance protests, as well as taking a look at the Senate itself, the ability to perform the oversight function, particularly as we hear clamors from major players in the oil industry, from Elumelu to Dangote, with even the former Vice President Atiku Abubakar talking about how to get the Dangote refinery operational. So we were wondering whether the Senate itself or the National Assembly would be able to perform that oversight function of asking tough questions and following up with very similar actions with regards to how much we've spent in rejuvenating our refineries. Subash, we really had a good time, but for the issue we had with the network. Of course, at some point we'll get you back to share your very valuable thoughts. Thank you very much for being with us today on Political Spectrum. Okay, that's go today. Of course, we'll bring another edition tomorrow by 10 a.m. Be sure to join us. And if you can, please enjoy the rest of our programmings and make sure you stay along. Thank you for being part of our program today.